I am higher vibrations, and so are you. Today,
Good
I am.
evening, I'm Sultan.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, a good evening, at least from my end of the world. It's awesome to see you, everyone. And this, I think we're going to have in general like a Q&A. We have a few topics and like questions from previous sessions, but it's probably going to be its own flow, freely flowing. So expect the unexpected, I guess.
Yes, it's going to be a fun show. And it's 111 in Eastern Standard Time, Colin has said. So thank you for joining us, Colin. Hello, everybody. If you do have any questions of any kind, please feel free to comment. Um, and Carmen, I love you. Unfortunately, Colin was first, but Carmen's always first in my heart. Um, Anyone who would like to comment, we will incorporate it and respond to these questions, comments. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, y'all, like energetically speaking. Um, a lot of solar flares and stuff like that. And now there's a little argument about who's first. Colin, no, says Carmen. Carmen, I love you. But Carmen is first by default. So thank you, brothers, for loving each other this way. So we have a lot going on. There's we just have entered a space of ending of cycles that I've been getting for my personal life, as well as many. We have the end of the Kali Yuga just started on Monday. Those of you who are aware of what Kali Yuga is, Kali Yuga is 12:12 my time. Um, has been known for the time of tribulation, the sucky part of our timeline. And so it takes a full year. So February 2025 is when we'll be done leaving Kali Yuga. And so it's been really cool to actually feel that and to notice that in my experience. Though there's an increased ascension symptom reports coming in right now. So I don't know. What about you, Guardian? Have you been noticing any kind of have you been noticing more ascension symptoms or any kind of disruption in your experience lately?
Uh, Thank God I've managed to like navigate it very easily in the past 3 weeks or so. But I did experience some very intense like flu type of symptoms, or some kind of sickness was like circling around me and inside my body from time to time
Mm,
before the holiday seasons. But after that, it kind of passed. But I did recognize and like seen a lot of people like in our close circle, in our family, and also like in extended circle as well. That like many people have come down with different types of sicknesses. Like maybe it's something that they've been struggling with for quite some time, and it started to like intensify, or it's something completely out of the blue and they just realize that, oh my god, like I had this condition and it's now super urgent to do something with it. But in general, like that's the only thing that I recognize. Like my body is pretty okay now, but at the end of December and that period, I was also like very heavily hit by whatever was happening, and everything. For example, I had like joint issues. I'm not sure how much I have now because I very intentionally work with it to like remedy the situation, and that like always comes up when these solar flares hit. I always feel my joints like, oh my god, like it's happening again. Or I know, like some kind of cold type of symptom or whatever. Or in my case, it's usually my voice. Like I have like throat issues in those periods for some reason, which is
right,
super nerve wracking, especially when you want to hold a live event or meditation and you don't have a voice.
right. Yeah,
But
that is
other than that, I haven't truly noticed anything else.
no. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just like, yeah, that makes it difficult. I was agreeing. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. Yeah, the voice thing, I have noticed that as well. That the throat chakra area has been I find it kind of funny to because I sound to me, there's been times where I felt like I've sounded masculine, I've sounded manly with my voice dropping and being in this place. There's been a lot of like ocular eye related symptoms being reported over the past couple of days. A lot of people have talked about it. Almost feels like raising up in an airplane, or going, in climate, going in through this sorry, there's children yelling in the background. Can you hear that, or is this microphone
No,
doing good? Okay, good. They're
it's
very
a
loud.
really good noise cancellation.
I think they're
It's
fighting over.
probably not on omnidirectional, so it's only recording you, what is in front of it. So good
Good,
choice for microphone.
good. I'm very happy. Thank you. Um, the other thing that a lot of people have been talking about is this experience of that I've also related to, this increase in the ear related, like ringing, but also like the underwater hearing, like where it's muffled, a lot of ear kind of stuff, and increase in just fatigue, just don't want to. I think I'm just gonna nap kind of energy, and a lot of people have been having this kind of a thing. Um, and Spiritual Warrior here has commented. She says that uh, woke up with a sty on my right eye. I tested for radiation at the NRT appointment. I'm sure that that's a correlation. This is at the eye stuff. Garden, have you heard about this in the fourth cone that people are experiencing? There's been reports of people having. No, it's fascinating. So we as a species have, wow, they're really upset out there. um, we have three cones. We have cones and rods in our eyes, and this is how we are able to interpret, what's in front of us. And a lot of people are talking about now just having okay, and having three cones, we're able to see a certain range of light. Animals or other species that have four cones can see ultraviolet light. And this is what's really neat, is that people are having symptoms similar to what was just reported about the eye sty. Somebody said that they had a bone spur move through their eyeball. That sounds painful. Just weird. I know that I've had weird, like, stuff come off my eyes, and then I'm able to see a different spectrum of things in front of me. Like I'm noticing more like light orbs, light beings, and things like that, as well as I would notice that my vision would like seem to be coming in and out of focus, and then I was given the information that what's happening, we're raising our vibration up to where the visual range of this other thing is, and so it looks like I'm fading in and out of focus, but it's really like it just because of Ascension works like this. We're talking about this because this new ultraviolet range is being proven via science that these individuals are actually presenting now with a fourth cone to be able to perceive the ultraviolet range of light. So this is pretty neat, but leading into that, it doesn't feel very good. A lot of painful experiences from what I understand. So
Yeah, like we are evolving. Like I'm not sure like how far we can push it in just one lifetime. I mean,
mhm,
like how much can your DNA change, and like how much can your physical body actually reflect that change in like a span of a life?
right.
But I bet like the kids who are born or are like very new have like super awesome upgrades already built in with the system.
Yeah,
And we are so-called like mutating and trying to keep up with what is happening.
very
But yeah,
much.
like it's interesting to see and hear others that, well, basically our senses and like how we perceive reality is expanding since we're raising our vibration. And so I guess another side effect of that will be that we will be able to perceive more spectrums of the light too. Like I guess like many people have also reported like, I don't know, like seeing weird movement out of the corner of your eye, maybe like at the corner of your periphery of your vision, like something just moved while like looking at it, and just like there was something there.
Yeah.
Or just interesting shapes, or maybe like flashes of light. Like that's what I kind of see, which is like super strange because we don't really live at the street where like light flashes can happen. And
Mhm.
also we have like the blinders are like light proof completely. And it's like, I know that it's not something that's happening to my eye because I don't know, like maybe when you like rub your eye, then it can muffle your vision, or it may seem that something's brighter maybe, but it's like all over the place. It's just your perception. But the other thing is, what I've seen is like maybe you can like imagine that in the corner of the room, maybe just in that small area, like almost like someone like turned on like a small LED for a split second and it just goes away or something. And I have no clue what that is. Sometimes it's something bigger, but sometimes it's like very small and subtle here and there. And it's not just in my vision. It's like just as you would like imagine now that it comes from the back of my seat, for example. So it's not on the camera or your eye. It's like behind an object.
Right.
So how does that? I'm not sure what that is, but it's very interesting. I also think I heard it from other people too, especially if you like close your eyes and like like even if you close your eyes, you can still see stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of, at least some people can. And when you close your eyes, you can like see like lights like moving about or something. Very similarly, when you can like try it out to I don't know, like close your eyes and like turn on your flashlight or something and like bring it in front of your eyes and you can still perceive it. And like weird stuff like that tends to happen from time to time. And then we can maybe like go into like what do we perceive when we try to go to sleep or just simply close our eyes.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, like,
go ahead.
yes. Oh, okay, okay. I just wanted to like also mention I haven't had that for quite a few months, but as our senses are expanding, like I had quite a few occasions when I try to go to sleep and like you want to shut everything down, like quiet and peace so you can sleep and all that. And I close my eyes and I can still see stuff like around me for some reason. Like I still I can see like I don't know how we call it, like an omnidirectional view of the room or something. So when we like look through our eyes, you just like see something like this, like in front of you. But if you can like close it and you turn off your physical eyes, like you can have like a 360 view kind of, or you perceive space around you much more, I don't know, like in a much more different and holistic way than just through these binoculars that we have.
Right. Yeah, I've got the same experience, and I've noticed that when interacting with energies, I almost always kind of look down. And it's not that I'm bowing, but that's where bowing came from. I didn't understand that before. Like I always thought bowing was like, oh, I'm below you, you're higher up than me. That's not what bowing is about in a lot of these energies. It's when we look down, it's got something to do with stopping the limitation of these eyes, and we see from here. We see a we see from the top of our head in some kind of way. Um, and an experiment or a practice that Guardian had mentioned, I've been doing since it's really useful, is to intentionally close your eyes, being safe. You don't want to end up finding yourself stumbling down a set of stairs or something like that. However, closing your eyes and kind of becoming aware of the room that you're in, and like going to the other side of the room, physically moving your body, walking, or trying to manipulate the space in front of you by like picking something up but putting it across the room or from a distance. So you really, it's required for you to use your higher sight. um, when we start to practice this stuff, it's already there. These skills are already present. It's simply that we've not um, we've taught ourselves to be limited. It's kind of how I take it, and so, and then, more too, just like you had said, these new children are coming in with the ability already, they're coming in with, that's where this science of having 4 cones has come from. It's children that they started to report this about. These little guys that are coming in with more of their DNA in alignment. The dormant DNA they used to call it junk DNA, and it's just in dormancy, and it's coming out, and that's part of this ascension experience that we're all going through right now. So it's not only sight, it's every sense. Every one of our senses is being upgraded and assisted in some kind of way in this way. And Terry commented here, my right eye has been intense throbbing and inflamed. A lot of people reporting eye discomfort right now. And often, not always, I'll hear again later on, after this, whatever the physical difficulty is, that as it fades or as it becomes easier to deal with, they find that they have something more. They're able to perceive more in some way. So it's pretty cool. How would you, so I know that we're talking about perceiving energies, and I just kind of want to, I guess, want to say one thing before I go into that question is that almost always people will report that it's from the corner of their eye or the peripheral vision is where they start to first perceive, like light orbs, or as Guardian here had said, something behind you, with your eyes open. Usually it's the corner of the eyes. Often, not always, I'm finding that it has to do with the left side. It comes in on the left side when it's an introductory energy. So you've not had that experience before or whatever. And then it's often too something that we will correct with our logic. We'll see something and then we'll go, oh wait, and you'll double take and then decide to make it go back to what you expect it to be.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that either. So I guess my question is, I know that you've been having these experiences before. You said that you see them behind you sometimes. When did this first start to come in for you? When did you first where were you on your spiritual awakening path, I guess is what I mean, when this first started to occur for you?
I'm not sure if it's in relevance to that. Like, it's been like 2 or 3 years ago when I started to perceive those things. So at that stage, I guess I could consider myself a bit more advanced than maybe 10 years ago or so. But I don't think it's dependent on that. I think like we're all collectively like moving forward. And like, even if you're like very much like just had your awakening, but the people who are awakening now or just in the past few years, I think they're moving far more quickly than we did like 10 or 20 or 30 years ago on their spiritual awakening journey. And also like the whole world is changing, the collective is changing. So, and also we're being upgraded. And yeah, like that has an overall effect on everyone, basically. Even if you're awakened or if you don't consider yourself awakened, like these things are happening to everyone. And like, just as you said, like we condition ourselves to see the world or experience rather, because like sight is just one way to experience it, to experience reality in a very limited way.
Right.
And like, I think these things are most likely happening to far more people. They're just like rationalizing the shit out of it. They're like trying to deny that it's actually happened, or, oh, I just imagine things, and
Right.
trying to push back things to the state that they feel comfortable with, basically. Because to many people, like these, just the mere fact to like realize that, hey, like not everything is just physical, or there are realities beyond the physical reality too, which are like still here, like interlaced with this one, like the same space and time, like the fourth dimension, like that's kind of here too, occupying the same space and time, but just on a different level of existence, basically. And it's also very near to us. So it's just like an arm's reach away, vibrationally speaking.
You had a very good point with this. There's a lot of individuals coming on very abruptly, very quickly, without, like, we had this conversation probably 2 years ago or longer, Guardian, where we started to get these downloads about these individuals coming in, and it's going to be like trying to take a sip of water from a fire hydrant, you know. And it's happening. It's happening right now. You know, there's a lot of newly awakened individuals who are rather progressed in their um so to use that measuring stick, you're right. That has nothing, time has nothing to do with advancement in a spiritual way, as Guardian had said, where it's like it doesn't really matter where you are in your awakening, you're going to start to get some of these things coming in pretty rapidly, and sight, I find sight to be one of the first for me. Is pretty common to hear that this kind of report, though a lot of other experiences end up coming in before that. We just don't acknowledge it, like sensing others present. Like I saw Vegan Vixen had commented earlier, and I did pull it up, but she says, I had something so profound happen to me in the early hours of the morning, and it involves some sort of activation where I saw and felt extreme energy enter my head, which left me with a throbbing ache. And then she said, which didn't last too long. Is the last part of that comment. This is an example, though it's not the rule. Everybody's experiences are different. Where the energy could enter your energetic field. Often, though, it's like someone's there and you just can't quite see them, or you notice you're being prompted somehow by other energies that are in your bubble, like in your room with you, and um, most often these energies, these are beings that are coming in to help you out, and there's nothing to be alarmed about. I did want to add, with sight, I found at first it looked very shadow-like for me, and that scared me. And because shadow, dark, bad guy kind of stuff, and it had nothing, shadows have nothing to do with, ill intention or anything like that. That's often how it comes in. Um, when I looked at it closer, I could see that around the outside, there's a very faded light, as if like a very diminished or faded aura of white light around like their body. And then within it looks like there's a shadow, only because you're not able to fully bring them into your perceptibility. So I did want to highlight this because I had learned over time that they weren't necessarily something to be afraid of. And so to help anyone who's having those kinds of experiences, you can use your own discernment. You can feel, if they're present, if their energy's presenting one way or another. I can say that when I go into a place of fear, I drop my vibration just enough. My frequency goes down just enough that they're no longer in my field. So it's like a mechanism that helps you to not have to continue to experience that if you're in a place of alarm. So though there are energies that are not the most pleasant, as Guardian and I have discussed before. Would you like to explore that topic further, or would you want to move to something new?
No, like we can go more in depth into this one, especially for newcomers.
Okay.
Yeah, like just as you said about like that things may appear like blobs of shadow or just like the silhouette of something as maybe like a shadow. And you may also like perceive that also when your eyes are closed. Like sometimes it happens to me as well when I wake up and my eyes are closed, and I like kind of see like an image or silhouette of something that I could recognize maybe. And I kind of take it as a sign that, hey, like something like that or that type of energy is maybe in my presence, or it's trying to interact with me, or something's happening and maybe I should pay attention. But yeah, like it can be many things too. Hello, beautiful people. Oh, yes, it's Esther. Yes, I already greeted you. I'm also sending you much love from Transylvania, and to everyone else who is watching. Yes. Yeah, like it may appear as like a shadow type of thing, but it doesn't mean that it has to be bad or anything. But if you like, it appears like that, that means that it's somewhat close in vibration to you. Yeah. Like it's very close on the fourth density, basically. Like it's almost in our physical reality to the extent of it almost being visible physically, kind of ish. but and like that vibrational range, that many things can come basically. Like it can be good or not that good, or something completely in between that you like can't even decipher. Like is this okay, or should I be afraid? Should I send it away? But it doesn't feel bad or anything.
Yeah.
Just like with people, like you can like get vibes from people like, oh, I really enjoy being with this person, or I like want to get out of this place. So when you like meet someone that you don't enjoy,
Yeah.
and there are like a lot of people who are like the in between, like you're completely indifferent, like with them, for example, and that can totally happen also with energies as well. Like beings can come in just to simply to observe, or maybe they're just curious about who you are or something. It doesn't mean that you have to interact with them. Maybe they just wanted to check out what your light was all about. Because if when we like awaken, like you energetically become different than other people. Like you can like imagine like the majority of people like functioning on the same bandwidth, like the mass is just on the same bandwidth. And when you like wake up, you're just all of a sudden you're like boom, like whoa, like you're on a different frequency range than everyone else. And that sticks out on the fourth dimension. That's like whoa, like what's happening there. And like many beings can be attracted to that as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but yeah, like you can attract nasty stuff as well. Especially if you don't have your, yeah, like you really have to like work on your energy system, like your energy maintenance, to make sure that you are protected, like you're cleaning yourself out, you're cleaning your home energetically, and you're also, yeah, like doing your daily protection work to like filter out unwanted energies. Because just because it exists and doesn't mean that you have to experience those
Yes.
unpleasant things in reality. And over
Very,
and out.
very, really good points. Thank you. You know, like you're not a victim of this. You get to decide. That's like the main takeaway I have. So I've, just as a lot of you know, I had my near death experience when I was 4. I had a lot of them, but the one when I was 4 was what really turned on a lot of this stuff. And I have been experiencing energy for a long time. Um, until my grandfather died, people in my family thought that it was just a wild imagination. I had a lot of imaginary friends, you know, and that's kind of a segue to this point too, is that I find that most of the energies that are not in congruence or they feel unpleasant often are energies of individuals who have passed away, who have died, that are still busy. You know, they got work to do. And so their energy is like that your asshole neighbor that you can't get away from kind of feeling, you know, we're just like, dude. And I use those words in love, the asshole neighbor, because you know sometimes that guy is also like somebody that you don't mind being around, and so um, when you notice them, they notice you noticing. And when they notice, all of a sudden, it's like there's 5 people instead of 1. It just happens that quickly. And so when you notice, and this happens this way, how can you help yourself? Is um, they come to you as attracted to your light because you are a natural transmuter of this energy that they have not been able to do their on their own, and they're coming to you for assistance. What that is you hear this example all the time. You know how like the person in the horror movie is saying, "Go to the light," and what they're saying is, "Go to Zoltan," you know, like they're saying, "Go to the person of the light," and so they do. They're like, "Okay, hey, I'm here now. What?" You know, and so what we are is a beacon of light. And so what I was doing for a lot of my life was going, "Go away, leave me alone," you know, and instead, which also works in a proper way, setting up your own energy, shielding kind of stuff. Though I've come to find that I don't actually do hardly any shielding anymore. And what I'm doing is it's different. It's shielding, but it's different. It's I don't know how else to explain it. It more than to say that I've become a beacon that they can always come into this light. And so this light is a funnel between God and Gaia, an energy between the conduit that you are. And as they come into this light field, they actually transform too, by the way. Energies who have been here wandering around for a long time after death, the longer they're here, the more distorted they become, animal-esque as well. Like some of those horror movies where they like, it's really not very a pleasant experience to see these energies. When they move into the light, they return to their most natural form.
Especially when it happens
And
during the night. When
yeah,
we
but
try
you
to
know what?
sleep.
Totally.
And like
Go ahead.
weird things crawl on the wall. Like no wonder I was insomniac for most of my life. So
You want to talk about that experience?
yeah, we can we can talk about that too. Yeah, but I will let you finish the transmutation of
Okay.
the dense energies.
And so as a oh, and also this is really a fascinating side note. As they come into this field of light that you've presented for them to then be able to be transmuted through, um and this is done with love. It's this it feels like it's called service, but it's like the word service implies work. And I'm finding that word's not really in alignment with a lot of the stuff that I like to talk about anymore. But that's what we call this thing. Um, and as a result, they then are so full of gratitude that they feel me full, you, whoever's doing it. Thank you. The gratitude of releasing them, of assisting them. And it's I I I call that spiritual crack, because like that is an addictive like experience, it's like, wow, this is why. This is why the why of doing this kind of a thing is that not only are we releasing and assisting these energies and they're no longer stuck here, but now after having done that, what they give back to us, it it elevates our energy and our frequency. Like I find, even if I'm exhausted after having done something like that, now I'm skipping and I want to sing, and like it could be at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, let's go garden, or whatever, and it there really is a give and take in all energies. There's an equal energy exchange in all things spiritual, and the impact that we get to make for these individuals. Hey, there's 88 people here right now. There's been eights everywhere lately. The impact that we get to make on these lives that are incarnated here, that are connected to these other energies as well, is just a lasting and impactful experience. And so it's just really cool. Though, until I knew to do that, they felt like bad guys. They felt like monsters coming to get me. They felt, because again, they're like this animal-esque energy that was coming from the shadows of the corner of the room when no one else was in there but me, and it didn't feel that great. But Guardian has a lot more experience with this than I do.
Yeah, well, I won't go into the very nasty ones. But yeah, like I didn't have that many experience with like people who've passed away. Although since we moved to this home, like this is on a mountaintop within a very old village. Like our village is like was founded like more than 700 years ago. So we have a long history going back. Also, like on our street, we have remnants of an old fortress. We have an old, like 700-year-old church as well. So a lot of things happened here in the past few hundred years, I guess. And yeah, like when we moved here, I moved a month earlier than the rest of my family. And wow, what was happening here? Oh my God. Like, it's like some kind of, I don't know, like festival or something, like so many beings and people were just coming into the house. And I was like, oh my God.
Close the door.
Yeah, like, yeah, just leave me be for a night or something. And yeah, like I had to put up some boundaries for that. But yeah, like a lot of people just wanted to move on. Like basically that's the main purpose why we are doing this. That just as you said, that there are maybe human beings or like other types of disincarnate beings that maybe died 10 years ago, 100 years ago, thousands of years ago, and they just didn't manage to like figure it out or like transmute the things, the traumas and the limiting stuff that they were experiencing, and they were like
Yeah.
stuck in that loop basically, and like experiencing it over and over and over and over again. And the more you go back and like the more time this happens basically, like the more distorted the energy can become if you like don't get over that specific thing, and like the more disconnected you become from your healed and integrated self, the weirder and more distorted things become. In some cases, like it can be like also energies like coming from another reality, like not even Earth, who got stuck here maybe like tens of thousands of years ago, and like they were like unable to like incarnate or transcend their sorry state or something, and they become very distorted because of that. And yeah, almost some people would call probably demonic or something. And yeah, like I hope not many people are experiencing those, but I had quite a few experiences with nasty energies like that. And yeah, like by the way, like I just found out like a few weeks ago, like there's this awesome channel on YouTube, The Alchemist Lady. The YouTube channel is called The Alchemist. I always call her The Alchemist Lady. And she had like an awesome video about the Blu-rays. And my jaw just dropped, and I was like, holy shit, like I'm a Blu-ray, like I'm so that, like. And she was also talking about it, that it's a kind of rare-ish, like not many people are embodying that spectrum of creation. It's also associated with wisdom and like the record keeper and stuff like that, which I'm also embodying. And what really like hit me is that Blu-rays are able to like hold space in like very dark situations to like assist those very dense energies to be transformed and transmuted, basically to be healed again. And like not all souls are capable of holding space in such dark situations. But basically, in general, like I also think it's very much synonymous with guardians, basically, like the
I was
Blu-rays.
going to say that.
Like we came in to transmute some very dense shit in this world. And like that also means that maybe we had some very challenging family situations, or you have a very difficult life, maybe, and also that on the astral energetically you attract a lot of dark shit basically that wants to be transformed and transmuted. And yeah, like this really pushed me on like moving as fast as possible on my spiritual journey, so I don't go crazy, because like I was bombarded like one very very intensely in the beginning by all these very challenging energies, to say the least. And that was a very huge catalyst in my spiritual growth, because I was like, I had like two options: like I give in and I become crazy, like an insane person or something, or
Yeah.
I choose to confront my fears and like transmute this crap out of my life. Like
Right.
try to find a balance and like reach a good place in life, basically, because it's not an easy situation to be in.
And they're called to you. They're drawn to you because that's who you are. They're
Yeah,
drawn to
but in
you.
the beginning you don't know that. That's
No.
the weird stuff about it. Like, why don't you leave me alone?
Yeah.
They're like, but
And the more we say that, the more they come.
yeah, yeah, and but you're the only one who can help. Probably not the only one, but there aren't as many who can probably do that. But yeah, like
There's a group here called the Guardians.
yes, I'm sorry.
There's a group here called the Guardians who guard the crystal cave. I find that, and it made me think of you. And I was like, because you had said there's about 100 guardians or so on this earthly plane. Isn't that what, like, kind of what you got total? There's
I'm
like
not
not
sure
that many.
like how many, but there aren't as many of us because there is no need for it, as far as I understand. So we are the heavy artillery. No, how do you say that? Like, if anyone's familiar with the ET 101, like it's a guidebook on how to live on planet Earth. And there were like listed different types of soul groups in it. And like, I'm not sure what the name of it is in the ET 101, but I definitely recognize it on the first read. Like, I'm that type of soul. Like, the one who like taking on all the heavy fire for the team and being on
Right.
the front lines, like protecting the healers and energy workers so they're not bombarded by all those heavy dense stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
just if
really
you feel
cool.
like playing Warcraft or something, like we're the paladins who are doing soaking up all the damage for the team.
You're the heavy artillery,
Yeah.
as Jingle Honda Marie says. Um, so how long have you known that this was an energy that you embodied? This did you just I mean, I'm assuming this was just innate. You just do this naturally. You're a guardian
Oh yeah,
energy.
like we do that naturally, but it took a very long time for me to like put together all this information because like there is absolutely like no source of information that like clearly like states these things.
Mm.
But the weird stuff about like my awakening journey was that I was listening to other people's experiences and I was like, hey, like I'm not getting that stuff. Like I'm getting all these dark and scary things. And like why I'm so different. And yeah, it was very
Right.
difficult in the beginning.
Oh, you reminded me of a thing. So I also had uh uh some really I find that I don't know how to spell Adonai symbiote, but here's the kadosh kadosh. I find so I'm going to put this up on the screen so people can see the at least the spelling of this. Um, if you type this in, you'll find in a YouTube search engine. You'll find that it'll come up, but it's kadosh 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 Adonai symbiote. It's um, a useful chant that brings in guardian. If you want guardian to come hang out with you, no, but like what I mean is energies of guardian. Like so, it's kind of like this.
I've not
I interpret it like not you specifically, though you have come in and helped me out, and a handful of times. Um, it comes it's almost like the SWAT team that comes like out of the ceiling with their like ropes out of nowhere and just coming like that's kind of how I interpret the energy. It the higher realms come in and just eliminate any of the experiences that are disruptive to us. Um, and yeah, it's kind of like Kung Fu Panda. Thank you, Jessica. Um, and so I find this to be incredibly useful and immediate. Though I uh, also found that finding this in YouTube, thanks to Guardian, and in fact, I'll post this in the description of this video, at least on my YouTube channel. And if I remember, I'll go to do it on your channel too, or if you would like to. I don't think I can do it on your channel actually. The link to this video um, is something that Guardian shared with me, and it's an acapella of women singing it. Why is this impactful and important? Is it was like uh the bad guy spray so that my daughter could have rest at night. There were so many energies that were coming in. Where we had moved was a very disrupted piece of land, and there was a lot of distorted frequencies that were hanging out there and that needed to go, and that's why we were guided to move there. I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't like, let's go find some stuff that we need to heal. But that's how it works is you just find yourself going to these places so you can help. And anyway, so what we did is I took this video and made it be its own folder and then put it on repeat or like and to recycle, and it just played all night long. And I just let it play for her. And when it was playing, then she was able to, hey, we just for 44 minutes and 44 seconds since we started. Um, While it played, it made it say, or it made it so all of the energy stayed clear and she could get some rest. So, I mean, you can use it for a long lasting way in this way, or you could just use it as a, okay, there's a problem. Hey guys, come help me out kind of thing too. So,
Yeah, like definitely try that out. Like it definitely saved my life more times than once. So it's
right.
absolutely magical and very powerful. Like the way I use it usually is that in the beginning when I first discovered it, like I chanted it in my mind and like repeated it for a very long time. And somehow after a time, like your subconscious becomes accustomed to it, and it's kind of like
Muscle
stays
memory.
there. And I like created this subconscious protocol in my mind that if something happens, like that automatically will come up to like knock me out of a nasty experience or something. And it's happened quite a few times that, especially when you like sleep and you're like very, your mind is not clear. Like if you wake up in the middle of the night, like you cannot focus or do some kind of intense energy thing because like you just woke up and you were 2 seconds ago you were in deep sleep. So,
Right.
or also like in the middle of your dreams, for example, if something happens while you are sleeping and you're like not even aware that's maybe you're sleeping or something is happening, but you can definitely feel that something's wrong. Like something came into your field or like intruded upon your dream or something like that. And just like chant and repeat this in your mind. And it just like cancels the entire experience and like throws everything out the window, it removes all the nasty energies and like puts you back in a aligned state.
Right. It's choice point. It's making you can choose. This is part of the free will
Yes, like you
experience.
have power over it, so don't be a victim of your own experiences. Like you can choose what you can experience. Like that's also what the old mystery teachings are teaching us about it. Hey, like you're the conscious creator of your own reality, and like you have power over the reality that you're in, basically. Like you have a very profound effect on what is happening, not
Right.
just within yourself, but also around you as well.
Yeah.
And also like I highly recommend, like if we're going into teachings, like check out the seven hermetic principles, like for example the Kabbalion. I'm very much into hermetic teachings and all that, and it's basically like the seven laws of creation, like how reality works, like how can you manifest things, like how does everything work in the cosmos basically. And like that's also one of the key points of the teachings that hey, like these are the seven laws and like everything functions according to these laws. Like this is what holds everything together. But like that doesn't mean that you're like a victim of the laws or like you like have to, I don't know, like I mean they do have an effect on our lives because we're here, but it doesn't mean that you're like a slave to them or something like that. It means that you're aware of the laws and now you can use them in a conscious way to create the desired reality or to bring about change in a conscious manner.
Right.
That's what the masters do.
It is. And we have a natural knowing to do this. So once you choose to, you can with power, with mightiness, step into this. That at whatever age, uh, physically you are, or whatever age in your spiritual evolution you are, however long you've been doing this, it's very uh, accessible to everyone. It's equally accessible to all groups, and all we need to do is allow yourself to make that choice. I would say that is kind of the most consistent thing across the board is the fact that we are in a free will. We're an experience where free will reigns supreme, and so you can choose a lot of these kinds of things. However, um, it's when it comes to a more physical manifestation. So I have these little like gremlin like guys. I don't even know what they to call them. They used to come around and they would interfere with me. They would do this while I was I would wake up from sleep, and they were just kind of, and they were usually around a doorway or a window. That's just, and it's I always, for the longest time, was like, wow, that's a weird dream. But every time I woke up, I would need to leave the room that I was in and leave them behind. They would always still be there. And it had something to do with this portal energy. Um, and connecting with what you had just said, where it has to do with um, I didn't understand Hermetic teachings. I didn't understand any of this at this time. Um, I did know that I could play with the rainbow light, and didn't know what the violet flame was. I just knew that if I made my aura look like it was purple, that's how I translated it. Then they would kind of screech like they were burning. They weren't burning, but they were just like, and they would leave. And this point is being brought up to show you you don't need to know what you're doing. It's useful to know what you're doing so you can do it more precisely. But this is something you have innately inside you. And I'm talking about, this is kind of a thing that had happened for years, starting as a child. And it wasn't until, I don't even know, maybe about 10 years ago or something, did anyone else see it too. So I didn't ever really talk about that, and there's a lot of different kinds of energies that do come through. Um, yeah, see, Carolyn here says that she's also having the experience with the gremlins, and they would take her stuff, and I noticed that too. They move stuff around. They like to uh, cause disruption, and so the violet flame is purifying. They don't like that, and guardian is a skilled uh, uh, guide of meditation, and some of these awesome meditations that he's done has been deeply impactful in my life. And I would like to say that every time the violet flame is associated in some kind of way, because you are a guardian and you do this naturally. You're a natural transmuter of the energy around you.
Yeah, like the violet flame is an awesome tool that everyone can use to transmute energies. So, yeah, like many people talk about like transmutation and like alchemy in the spiritual community, but like how the hell do you do that? Like learn to work with the violet flame, and like that's the energy, the tool with which you can like transform those energies. Like transform that which is unworthy into something that is desired, basically.
Right.
And like the energies or things that don't want to be transmuted will basically leave that place because they are like not compatible with it, or maybe they just simply don't want to lose their distorted selves in the transmutational process, because like many of these beings, like the gremlins for example, like I'm not sure about them, but there are a lot of weird stuff on the lower astral. Like you can call them whatever you want.
Right.
There are the ones that scratch the bed or like hide under stuff. And I remember I watched an interview with an African shaman. I think it was called Creative Mudra, I think. And he was talking about all these different types of beings that live on the lower astral. And he was naming a few of them. And I had no clue about their names because I always say it's the boogeyman or something. But he was like describing their appearance and like what they do. And like, holy shit, like I know those. Like I've seen those too. And they're like this like dark mist type of things that like hide under things, and they can like scratch stuff, like you can hear that like scratching sound in the room.
Yeah.
And like the shaman said that they also tend to like scratch the back of children's, because like these things are like feeding off your fear basically.
Right.
Like, and they're like, but basically it's just like a show. So they're doing all these scary stuff to put you in like a disadvantageous energetic space basically, because if you're in fear then you're like frozen, like you can't really do much like that. And that's just like with bullies basically, like they prey upon the victim basically.
Yeah.
But as soon as the victim chooses to kick the bully in their nuts, then they stop doing it because like they can't deal with that.
Yeah. And it takes getting finding yourself what it feels like up against a wall before sometimes we will say, you know, I'm done, or get around to kicking someone in the nuts. Yeah, it's also, this is a fun side note as someone. This is something that I've since become. This is what I do kind of frequently. I assist these energies. I'm aware of them enough now that it's kind of like doing the dishes. You're just like, I'm fine. I gotta go do the dishes. Sometimes, and other times it's like, oh, cool. I get to go play with the water. So it just depends on where I am. However, I can say this is that the vast majority of these energies are caged animal energies. They are a frequency that has been stuck here somehow. um, they're stuck. They were, and you're the liberator of these energies. What's weird about it though is that as a liberator, you're also an energy that they kind of often will think of as the one that's imprisoning them. And so there's this like almost this misunderstood energy that's happening. Once they are brought into this place of frequency, this light that's being sent, the kicking them in the nuts is often what compels them or propels them into their higher frequency that they wanted to go anyway, or away from this frequency anyway. I don't really know where they go. I don't follow them. Um, I can say that it is also an energy of gratitude as they're finally moving on all the way off. It's like, oh, thank God, and um, I can say this as well. The ones that are more physical manifestations tend to be the most ancient. They tend to be energies that, like these gremlins we're talking about, um, they felt as old as Earth. And I don't know how to. I'm not saying Earth is this many years and so are these guys. It's just they're very ancient. They've been here a very long time. Once they began to be liberated, it was scary for them because they wanted to go. They really wanted to go, and they were resentful that they were being caged here in some way. They felt caged below the veil, perhaps. Um, and then when they were finally able to be released, they'd been here for so long that they were full of fear. And so I would feel that fear before I'd feel the gratitude. So this is useful to know because that fear that would come in, it was interpreted inside of my being as I did something wrong. So I would try to take it back. And so just to let any of you know, if you're in this experience and doing something like this, that's what that is. So
Yeah, like even if you like feel those unpleasant stuff, like that's not necessarily bad. It's just like your body is letting you know that, hey, like something's happening. You should pay attention to this.
yeah.
Like in my case, I feel this cold thing like rising from my back or something. Just I know, like you can like imagine a cat when they like I know, like they could become agitated and the hair on their back stands up.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like
Yeah.
that when something's near me and like, oh, like I can sense that something just came in. But yeah, like it's just your body letting you know that you should pay attention to this or do something with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to read Elsa really fast. It's really funny. She's
Yeah.
like, job list, to-do list, dishes, goblins, shopping, a tree hug, clod collar, clothes on lid. Too funny. I just because it's a to-do. It's part of the energy that we need to clean up. And we often don't realize that the energy is collected in your house that you take with you when you go out shopping and stuff, you bring it home. This energy, this other kind of frequency does attach to us. And so daily maintenance, as often as you can anyway. I would say that I usually clear my energy as I'm leaving a shop and then as I'm getting in the car. And then, because there's just like sometimes you end up with a lot of energy and sometimes I don't even think about it till I've been home for some time you know. However, if we don't clear this energy off our form, we also will find that it collects in the house. usually in the corners of the house, and it kind of it can stick around. A simple clearing. I use sage. Guardian can't stand the smell of sage, so he
I
has
just
other
burned the
methods.
house.
What was that?
I just burned the house.
Just burn the house down.
They don't like that.
Sound bowls?
Yeah. And also when I bless my food, I also burn that in fire too. So
I just think it's so funny. Burn the house down.
I know, like what we were talking about, like you're talking about like these difficult situations with people. You're sending them love balls and all that. I just send them fire. Yeah, it always works.
Love balls also work.
Yeah, a ball of fire.
Yeah, it's I use love as a weapon. Hey, it's 111 right now. I use love as a weapon in this way, and I don't mean weapon in the way that we kind of think of it, but you can hurdle love at energies, at frequencies, and it can amp it up. And if it's something that's beautiful and awesome, it gets stronger in that way. And if it's not, it kind of like it disintegrates it, it melts it. It looks like it's just I don't know. It's like cotton candy in water. It just, and it can, though burning it. How do you do this method of burning? So for those who don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Just as we were talking about the violet flame and like transmuting with it, like you can extend it, not just, I mean, you can use it first on yourself, of course, like purify yourself. And as you're getting used to the frequency of the violet flame, like I use the eternal fire, like that's like a fire made out of white light, which is like encompassing all the spectrums of the rainbow, but you could definitely do it with the violet flame too. So first off, like just get used to the energies of the violet flame. Like, how does it feel? Like, how does it look? Like, what does it feel like when something dense is being transformed inside my body, for example? And as you're starting to get used to that energy and like how it works, then the easier it will be to like amplify that and to like call it forth. Like in the beginning, when you're like not really used to it or you've never done it before, it probably won't be much, it won't be very strong or potent. But the more you do it and the more you are able to like feel that frequency inside of you, then after a time it will be just enough just to think of it, and like bring that feeling up when you're in the violet flame and just you're just there, like you're all in encompassing the violet flame. And of course you can like expand it to whatever distances you want, but don't use your life force energy. So
Yeah.
like bring it
How do you do that?
from source and like ask him to like fuel the fire and to extend it, and just simply ask the violet flame to like transmute everything around you, like all density, fear, doubt, like all stuck energies, to like clear out everything and transmute everything into like white light or however you want to perceive it. And after that, like close off your home energetically, because like depending on what seals you use, for example your house or your body, like things can get stuck in your house. Like protection can work like both ways. Like you can also like keep things out, but if something was in the house and you like did that type of seal and protection, then it gets stuck in your house. Like and you don't want nasty stuff stuck in your house. And like that's why it's very good to like clear yourself and also your house first before you like do a lockdown or something like that.
Right.
So you don't have nasty
It's
surprises down the line.
it's like fencing in your garden, so the rabbit doesn't get in your garden, and then it turns out you fenced the rabbit into the garden,
Oh yeah,
right?
we had the much nastier one. How do you call those fences? Those electric fences?
You have an electric fence.
Just electric fence. Okay, so around here we have like a lot of bear problems, and like one of our friends had like a big cornfield, and it was protected from the bears with an electric fence and also from the wildlife. And they did a maintenance on the fence before they went to on a 1 week vacation, and the fence was down for like, I don't know, like half a day or so. Then before they left, they like brought everything back online again. And when they came home after a week, like all the corn was like toppled down, everything was like flattened out. They locked in 5 bears and they couldn't get
5 bear.
out.
Oh my goodness.
So be careful
Wow.
with seals and protection.
Yeah. And that's a very important point too, is that this is where we get the flame from to begin with, is this uh it's a soul spark, this place inside our heart center. There's nothing in there but this light. Like there's nothing. And so starting from this point and expanding it out, you're transmuting and pushing out all energy that is not of this light. Um, and I don't know. Perhaps you could expand on this further. How you access this soul spark and use this to ignite the flame, since you're the fire guy here.
Okay. I'm the keeper of fire, yes.
You're the keeper of fire.
Well, basically, that soul spark is in our heart center, and we all have access to it. It's always with us. Like that's what is keeping us alive, and like that is the part of us that like moves from one life to the other. Like it's the part of you that can never cease to exist, basically. But I mean, you cannot get rid of it because it's you in the most purest sense. But you can like forget about it or like have a lot of blockages and junk in your heart and in your being that like pushes it down or like suppresses it, and like it no longer shines as it should originally. And like that's when a lot of problems show up in life, when maybe like heart diseases and like all types of blockages, because like you're keeping its light or its potency like suppressed by a lot of crap that we accumulate throughout our lives. Like those can be like I don't know, like belief systems that are like very detrimental, and I don't know, like maybe you had a few experiences or traumas that are like have like shut you down. You're like afraid to reach out to other people, or you're completely blocked energetically. And basically, the only way to like work through that is to like work through all the traumas, basically, all the limiting belief systems, and to just simply be with yourself and like let all the crap come forward. And like that's where like many people in the beginning of their spiritual journey kind of like get scared off, because like when you start to work with the heart, like it will show you all the crap that you've been hiding from throughout your life. Like all the nasty stuff that you were avoiding, it will bring it up and show it to you. Like, hey, like this is holding you back. And like you need to deal with this first if you want to get to the heart energy. But yeah, like, but you can speed up the process and make it much lighter with the violet flame, for example. Like, work on a daily basis with the violet flame, and it will supercharge the whole process. Like, it doesn't have to be difficult and painful. Like, you can make it a lot easier and lighter for yourself. That doesn't mean that you don't have to do the work, it just becomes easier to do it.
Right. And to feed this energy of with God's light is this continuous funnel of light. That's your life force, the guardian here, there that you just mentioned previously. Is this accessing this does um, expand anything that you're sending out. And so if it's love, if it's it's been fun to see some of the comments. Some people are like, yeah, I'm going to start using fire. Or I prefer the love bomb. And whatever your weapon of choice, like whatever your weapon of choice is. And again, I use the word weapon lightly, but it's also what we are talking about at the same time, because it's a different, oh yeah, here we go. Like right here, Terry says it. She says, uh, yes, love is my weapon of choice. There we go. And it's a
Oh, yeah,
direct
like
quote
the
in terms.
eternal fire doesn't like it to be used as a weapon. Like I did it in the beginning, and I got restriction. I mean, like, okay,
What
like no
happened?
more fire for you.
Really?
Until
Really?
the point I realized that hey, I was not using it in an appropriate way.
Right. Right.
Yeah, like it has its
Yeah.
own consciousness, and just as like the violet flame, it has its own awareness. It is alive. So
Yeah. Wow. I love this. I hadn't, and that's true. There's a consciousness associated. I hadn't, yeah, translated that fully. And when using, same was true with using. I guess that I just assumed too that when using the love energy, because it is innately love, there's it can't be contrary to what love means or what love delivers, I suppose. And so it presents self to assist, to uplift. And if an energy is not in alignment with this love frequency, then it's like um, the hydrophobic stuff you spray on, so the water will just like it doesn't the water won't stick to your clothes. You'd spray that hydrophobic spray on there, and it's the same kind of concept. If it's not in alignment with love, it doesn't want to be there. It doesn't want to be there. And sometimes there's a response that sounds like they're in pain, but it's due to the fact that it's just not in alignment with them. Um, though, what your point of before about not using your own life force, um, would you like to expand on this a little further so people that don't know what we're talking about can understand?
yes. Yeah, well, I'm not sure. Like in different traditions, like it's called different things. Like I think it's called prana in Hinduism. Like it's your chi in China or in Eastern traditions. Well, basically your life force energy that is like assisting your body to function. I mean, of course, you need food and all that stuff. Like, but that's like very physical based. But other than that, you need your life force energy. Like that's something much more higher vibrational that is like keeping you alive, and like it's keeping everything alive. And like we receive that energy through Mother Earth directly because we are in her body at the
Yeah.
moment. Like she is sustaining us. And it's something, I mean, you accumulate a certain portion, to a certain extent, you can accumulate within yourself whatever quantities of life force energy that you need in order to function. It's not advised to like supercharge yourself. Like I tried it, it was horrible. Keep it in balance. You have to have the, just as with like breathing, you have to have the inhale and exhale. You can't just breathe in and you're going to pop. Or I don't know. We weren't made to do that. So it is important to always have this flow of inhale and exhale. Like that's what everything does in creation. Like there's this constant flow and movement of energy there, and whenever there's like stuck and accumulated energy, then there are problems going to arise there. Like that's, for example, like inflammation in the body. It's a lot of accumulated energy in certain parts of your body. Okay, but back to life force. So every one of us, like some of us can hold more than others. And I also think it's like dependent on age as well, like how vital you are, like how strong your vitals are. Depends on like how much you can hold and also how much you can channel at once, basically. But mostly it is something related to our physical body, basically. And I know that in some traditions, I also researched it, like, for example, my ancestors, like, what did our healers do and how did certain healing practices function? And like some use their own life force energy, or some, for example, like take away the sickness from someone else and like integrate it in their own body and like heal it within themselves, which is also don't do that. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to. Or, for example, in my case, which I learned the hard way, is like in the beginning when I did, I don't know, like protect other people, or I had to like fight off nasty beings in the beginning, I used my life force energy to do that work, basically. And I haven't really realized that's what I was doing. And after I did a pretty big one, a pretty big cleanup, in the coming few days, I started to notice that I was like, I don't know, like almost like bleeding life force energy or something like that. So my etheric field was like, it wasn't in a good shape, and I was like losing life force energy from my body. And it wasn't anything painful, but I just felt that like life was leaving my body, like I couldn't function. And I was just like breaking down, like hour by hour, just becoming weaker and weaker. And yeah, I got a reset at the end of that, and everything came back to normal. But yeah, like that's when I learned that always bring your energy from source. Like that's like an infinite pool of energy and power that you can draw upon, and you
Right.
don't have to use your own little local supplies of life force energy, because that's very limited. So that's not much. You can't do that much with it, but source is infinite, and you can do amazing things thanks to him.
Right. And you can fill it back up again. Like I like the spiritual warrior. You rip your aura, Zoltan is what she says.
Probably, I'm not sure what happened, but it was not pleasant.
Yeah. There's I've had experiences with energies that come in. Um, uh, at the time, I interpret them as ET energy. I don't know what they were. Honestly, I really have stopped caring. To be truthful, they could you could call them angels. You can call them Bob. I really they're just they are. However, uh, there have been some energies that have come in and their connection to us does feel draining. They're coming in for the purpose of uh, siphoning energy from you. If you should choose to allow them to, you have a choice, is why I'm bringing this one up. Just like all of these things, you get to decide. And so if it doesn't feel, whatever it is that you're doing, if it doesn't feel like it's helping you, and you're noticing something going down, you're not there's no, oh no, it's too late. It doesn't ever happen that way. You
If
can
you're still alive, it's not too late. So
right, right. You can always fill yourself back up with this light, with this life force. The life force is an inexhaustible resource. This is meant and always will continue to be funneled into you. You're already getting it naturally, automatically. You can amplify the quantity that's coming in while you're working with something. And I find this, like Guardian had already stated, I find that this is important to do. Um, when I'm working with multiple energies, I need to be very clear that I'm pulling in a wider bandwidth of this light into my physical form. Um, and as Guardian had mentioned, because yeah, I'm 44 years old, um, I don't keep that much energy, life force in my body, and so I only do this if there's a constant stream of it being used and sent out. Um, I found that if I try to fill myself up with that, it doesn't stay anyway. It's not nothing bad. I'm not gonna like. It's not like a Ziploc baggie that you fill too much water in. It's not gonna pop. It just constantly moves out. And so the natural side effect of that is you're sending love and awesomeness to people around you who are incarnated or embodied in some way. Um, and so I guess a good question would be to highlight here too, Guardian, that maybe I'm sure you have a response for, and you probably need to get wrap this up and get going soon. I assume.
now we can still stay like 20 minutes, maybe.
Perfect, wonderful. Um, there's the questions coming up about um, so uh, once you have cleared your auric, your energetic field, the space inside the house, how would you go about doing your seals, the lockdown? You talked about shielding your house. Um, No one's actually commented this, but I feel like this is a question that we're getting. So I don't know if it's like not popping up, because sometimes when there's a we're restreaming, some of the comments get missing. But I feel the question. So would you like to elaborate on how this is done? Or?
Well, I can share like how I do it, but it's just a template. Like you can find your own way of your own best practices on how to do that. It's very similar to how we usually do our meditations. That I start from the heart center. First, I purify myself and also the house, and I send from my heart center up to source a beam of light from where it comes down through my body down to Mother Earth's core, from where it goes back up again, down, and like continuing creating this continuous flow between source and Mother Earth, and like envision yourself being at the exact middle of it, and like from that place of power, like call upon Mother Earth and Heavenly Father, or however you want to phrase it. And I also ask for the assistance of the archangels, or if you just want to work with Archangel Michael, like that's a sure bet. Like he's amazing. Our best friends ever. Archangel, yeah. Shout out to Archangel Michael, who's been a massive help for eons to all of us. And yeah, like, or just work with them and ask that you, your family, your house, the land around your home is like being protected, and like just go step by step, like maybe first yourself, then extend it to your family, your home, and then around it again, and like layers upon layers if you want to do that. And like for each time when you like ask, like also like envision and feel how that maybe like a light bubble or a golden light is like circling around that place and like encompassing that entire place. And I also recommend like when you're doing shielding for a place, like don't just visualize it that I know like there's a building. Oh, where's my hand? I think this is in reflection. So maybe there's a building on a land, and you just like maybe envision a dome around it, and like underneath the land there's nothing. So basically you're open from beneath, and like envision that you have like a encompassing sphere around it, like
Yeah.
above and below as well. So you're protected in all angles basically. And you can like do layer upon layer if that's what you want to do.
Right. And it's portable, so you could do this around, say, a vehicle as well, like
Yeah,
a
I
car.
always do something like that before I go anywhere with a car. So
Yeah, I do too. It's you can also choose what you want it to do for you as well. I find like um there's occasions where you kind of want to let the certain kind of energies come in that may not always hold the highest frequency. Um and okay, I'm gonna just, because I had done this, what Guardian's talking about, and somebody who was maintenance and had to come into my place on occasion couldn't. It was the most bizarre thing. Every time this individual would come around, like he would like start sneezing and coughing, and before he could even come into my house, and it was just all of a sudden he couldn't come in again, and it just was the and so and this person I knew was definitely an energy that, I mean, I would have my kid go to a babysitter before he came around because he just wasn't a good energy. And so this is also useful for people who are in body too. And so it's just good to know. You can also make the door open. You can open the door to this to your shield. I found it does destabilize, feels like it kind of destabilizes it, but it's not a difficult thing to do. I've expanded this shield before to very large, to my entire block, my entire, like you can make it as big as you want. Um, Something that I do that is very quick to do, this similar to this, the same thing. It's just um, I'm breathing in the white light of God, and while I'm inhaling through my nose, and I'm expanding the soul spark of white light, as I exhale, but I'm making it into like this bubble, so it like goes around me, starting in this center. And what I love about this is that as I'm doing it, because I'm starting with the soul spark, there's no density that can be within the soul spark. This is light, and um, it pushes all energy that is not of this frequency out and beyond my energetic auric field and so on, really far out. Um, until it's no longer attached and it finds it can be released. So that's just another thing that I do. It's just, I call it love. And often that same thing that I'm talking about, Guardian would call fire. It kind of is the same thing in a lot of ways, so.
I'm not sure, like it's in the Bible or where. I'm not very familiar with Christian text, but I think there's a passage when they mention God, I think, and they always talk about like you cannot go close or to reach God because you will like burn up, like he burns so intensely that you would not be able to be in his presence or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you also have like in certain iconographies as well that also like Jesus has the flaming heart, and he's like showing that, hey, like my heart is burning because the element of the heart is fire, basically.
Right. It's a, it looks similar to light. That's lightning. A lot of times I'll see this. Karen Wilson has a really good question. I don't know if you'd like to answer this. If you don't visualize very well, is it a matter of intention?
Yeah, I think so. I think like all of us do it differently.
So,
So there is no one way of doing it. Like visualization usually really helps because it sort of becomes tangible to a certain extent. You're like you see what it's going to do or like what you are doing. And I think like most of us are kind of a visual people, like we're used to seeing and experiencing world through sight. But yeah, like the most important thing is intention and fuel it with the proper emotion and like try to hold that energy as much as you can, or just simply stating what you want to manifest, almost like a magic spell. Like you're stating your intention, like this is going to happen. Like you can visualize it or not, but just simply having a very strong and clear intent like really does the job. And especially if you are able to hold focus and like keep that energy intact, really helps. Because like just like having a strong starting spark is like good, but it's good to like I don't know, like give it more time and focus and energy for it actually to happen.
yeah,
Because like depending on like how, like if you want to protect like a larger area or do something bigger, then it's much more advised to like keep your focus on it and like fuel that manifestation, like visualize it how it's happening, or maybe repeat your intention several times, like almost like a mantra, maybe
right,
like do something that is like helping you keeping your focus on that specific thing.
right. Yeah, that's very, very well put. There's a fun added side note of all doing all this stuff too is that in order for you to send all this stuff out, we must first contain it. So you're pulling it in, and you're like, any of the energy that what isn't in alignment, it's really beautiful, and um, it fills you up first, and it transmutes and equalizes and balances all the stuff inside ourselves first, and then it's as the container that you are of this, then it's sending this stuff out to these are the other places. So I just wanted to add that part. I know that we kind of moved from that, but it just very much uh, at first what I was kind of doing was I was trying to make it be a direct funnel, and I wouldn't let it sit in my energetic field first for very long, and I was missing out. So take a minute, allow yourself with the intention to feel it coming to you and being with you, and then doing the thing, like this. And it doesn't have to be very delayed, and it's really, all things, time isn't real. So, with intention, when we decide it's happening, it's starting, you know. And so what is your intention today, right? And just kind of Uh, and Karen says that she says she's saying thank you. She's gratitude. So thank you very much for answering that question. Um, there's uh, does anyone have any more questions? Please go ahead and feel free to comment too. I was just seeing that there's uh, I sorry, I had to. So anyone who there was somebody who was present in the audience, I removed them. So my apologies for anybody who was having difficulty with that. So Colin says, so basically, uh, be like a child with drawing paper and let your imagination run wild. Anything goes. Be as fantastical as you want. The only thing to take serious is your intention. Well put.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, like there's a very good reason why like creativity and like imagination is like being stomped out with people like in a childhood almost. Like, oh, you're just imagining things and like those things aren't real. Like grow up already. Like we like push away and like diminish our creative faculties and parts of ourselves. And like that's a super important part for manifestation, basically. Like all the great inventions and like groundbreaking stuff that happened in the world were brought about by people who had a great imagination
Yeah.
because they could visualize and like create all these fantastical things within their mind and then create it in the physical.
It's amazing too when we find out we think we're using our imagination often we find out later on that we're not the only that simultaneously multiple people here were getting the same thing. It's fascinating to learn and that a lot of our imagination is truly channeled information because you are an appendage of God. You know, we are God. We are all part of the all. We are the universe. We are the mother. We are all of this. And when we are able to step away, a step aside from the logic just enough, and just let our autopilot kick in, everything becomes possible because limitation no longer exists.
Yes.
Yes.
And in closing, we kind of
Mm,
went away from the topic of like deceased loved ones and stuff. And we had a question from Jacaranda Marie.
yeah.
And yeah, we haven't addressed that. So she asked the best way to connect to our loved ones who have passed away. Like, do you want to address that first? Like, maybe share your
Yeah.
experiences?
Um. So, first of all, one of the things that I've noted over the years, because I am somebody who connects with those who've passed, I've always been that person, at least as far as I can recall, um, is that I have they that within a week or so of their passing, they are very accessible. However, I find that about after this window of time, often they move away for a time. And I've always translated this as, and this is just so you know, because sometimes people are like, well, it's still not working. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes these energies, these people are doing like spiritual counseling, I guess. They're doing their own work and uh time doesn't exist, I guess too is part of it as well. But um so if you're finding that this isn't working, often they're busy. How do we connect with them? Saying right now, every one of you who've thoughts of somebody that has passed, thinking of them is calling them, bringing them up in your mind, in your voice, saying their names. Often bring it through more, just like when we're presenting an intention. Um, However, if you don't tend to have interactions with uh, people who have energies, spirits, I guess is the word people want to use, um, it's harder to see or know that they're present when you're in your waking state. So, allowing yourself to be in a meditative state, this deep of a trance as possible, it makes it so your logic is far enough out of the way that you're able to fully experience them and their just their words and what they're trying to communicate with you. Um, you're all channels. We are all a channel. of all of these things. And often when we try to give responsibility to one person or another, it's only that that person has forgotten to care about the limitation, and that's all. So um so calling their name in some way by bringing them up, like as we've been talking, I've started to get a lot of energies all around me because I was thinking of people, because I didn't mean to, and here they are, and they bring in the whole
You
family.
have to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's okay, but yeah, it can get really busy really fast, and then it's like, okay, goodbye, go away now.
And
um
sorry to bother you. I didn't want to call you.
Get back to your tea. um, what do you do to translate their communication once they're here? Because calling them is the easiest thing to do. Um, Once they're present, how to translate that they're there. Often we can ask spirit to do certain things. The easiest thing that spirit can do is move water, especially water that's already in motion. Um, we can do that too. Water benders often can do this. It's the same example, but what we're talking about right now is spirit. Um, Turning on a faucet. This is something that's been kind of fun to help people learn to access this, and then they usually graduate from this experience. Turning on the faucet to where there's a stream of water that's a solid stream, and bend it. Will you move that? And it's cool because then the water goes like a straight line, and it's like they bend it for you, or anything in motion, but water's the easiest. So uh once something's been put into motion, then give a specific ask, make it go right, make it go left, kind of stuff. This helps people feel like they know that they're really there, and that starts the I muted you. Once the communication starts to move, this is stuff that I teach people who are really just they want to be able to have this back and forth conversation. Um, Once they start to trust what they're getting, that's when the conversation really starts. Um, Usually it's an odor, a scent, a smell, an
Yeah.
aroma. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. It's so
Do you want
weird.
to expand on this? Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to address the scent thing. Like I didn't know one of my grandfathers. Like he died when my mom was 18, and I knew my other grandpa, but he died when I was like 3. And when I was like 18 years old, I think, all of a sudden I was alone at home, and I started to feel I don't know how you call that little flower that has like, oh whatever, I'm not going to describe it. It's some kind of nice little spring flower, basically. It has like a very recognizable scent to it. And all of a sudden I was alone. I was like smelling this spring flower scent, but it was like late summer, and we had no air fresheners or like not even a perfume in the house that would have that scent. I was like, okay, I can feel that scent very strongly. Like, oh my god, like what does this mean? And like I'm not sure if I realized it then or just later. I was like, oh wait a second, like that was the favorite flower of my passed away grandfather.
And this is their signature. Their "Hi, I'm here." Uh, we'll get also, and it's not just me. This is consistent for a lot of people. The laugh. You'll hear inside your head. Basically, it feels like I call it the voice on my heart. Um, you'll hear the person's laugh. Their laughter is a signature. That it's the resonance of their name, is their laughter, and so we'll get laughter that will echo in, um, and this is their way of saying it's me. Most of the time, I find that once they've come in and they're communicating, people will hear it as if it's their own thoughts, and it's a conversation with yourself. It feels like at first, because it isn't meant to be intrusive, invasive, and we do need to translate, because in spirit, words are no longer used. The way we communicate is so limited. It's like we're that person who's still got a VHS player and they won't, like, like up, or they're a 8 track, they're not going to do CDs or they're just committed. That's what we're doing with language in a lot of ways. And so when we translate what they're giving us, usually it comes in through words, and then it's our own voice that we're hearing. So we could use channeling methods too, of like automated writing, and what is automated writing, Guardian? Because usually you describe this so much better than I do.
I do? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
basically, it's a form of channeling as well. But yeah, like before you do anything like that, like prepare yourself, like purify yourself, like do all the energy maintenance stuff, like clear yourself,
Yes.
clear your house, and like do the protection work so you don't get any interference that you wouldn't want to have there. And don't play around with Ouija boards. So,
Yeah, dude.
uh, and yeah, like basically, it's a way of interacting. I mean, you can interact with, just as you would say, like maybe a deceased loved one, maybe if it is possible, or maybe your guides, or maybe your subconscious, like you're asking questions of yourself of like, hey, like, why am I repeating this mistake over and over again? And just don't think about it, just write down what comes, like. And it works the same way with everything else. Just have a very clear question. Like if you want it, you can write it down, but I think that's unnecessary. Just have a very clear question, and like the first thing that comes, just write it down. Don't think about it. Just write.
And sometimes starting the writing motion helps. Well, like I'll usually go uh in the earlier, I don't find I need to do this anymore, I think, now that I think about it, but I'll just start to say something. Like you could say once upon a time, or whatever it is. You use whatever, and just it's just getting your hand moving, and then a release happens, some kind of release moment happens, and all of a sudden it just starts to flow. It starts to flow, and it ends up being a very useful tool as well, because now it's documented. You can go back and you can look at this, and decipher this information. Um, I would say, above all else, when communicating with past loved ones, just to go back to that point specifically, um, is that they will come through however feels most familiar to you with them, because there's still that energy, and they know you, and they know the energy that they were, and so they'll come through as that individual. Um, Often, the most fascinating part about people passing away and the energies that they come back through as is they'll come through as what feels most appropriate to you. I've had energies where they've a female specifically. I just recently had this conversation in a session. This woman had lost her baby before the baby was born, and years later, every year this child comes through is a year older. So, and sometimes we're talking to our grandpa, and grandpa, last time we saw grandpa, was much more healthy than that, and that maybe grandpa was, but when he passed. So we'll see the example that we are familiar with, because they want you they want you to know who they are just as much as you want to know who they are. And so it's not meant to be a puzzle to decipher, as much as we want to make it be sometimes. Um, and I would like to point out too, is that whether you're able to perceive any of these things or not, they do come to you, and they especially come to you around a week or so after passing, to say goodbye, and to also not they're not going, so they'll come back through as well. And often this happens in a place of dream state. A lot of us will discount this experience and say that it's a dream. It just felt so real. It was. It is. And it's going to continue to be as much as you'd like. How do you inspire this? Is to set this intention as you're going to sleep. Speak to this individual and say, I would like to talk to you, you know, or whatever. Just, set your intention. While you're doing this, remembering to do what Guardian's talking about, we're doing this with a clear slate energy. We're not bringing any other, we're not bringing today's dirty laundry with us. As you clear your day, and then you bring in, I'm ready to have this conversation. Um, I find it very useful to be in a place of love and not in desperation. If we feel, often when it comes to grieving, this is the most complex part, is that it's hard to be able to be removed enough emotionally from this distraught state. If we are in a desperate place, or in a place of like, just I need to talk to this person, I miss them so much, kind of stuff. um, I find that sometimes it can be a distorted conversation. um, and so check yourself, your intention too. Why do you want so badly to connect with this individual? And um, And lastly, just one last thing I'm going to add, and let Guardian say whatever it is he has to say about this too, um, is that I lost my statement, my thought, so it wasn't that important. Go ahead, Guardian.
But yeah, like that whole idea of like being in a proper state, like when you do that. I remember, I think it was a Netflix documentary, like Life Beyond Death or something. They were exploring reincarnation and like, is there life after death or something like that. It's fairly recent, I think like 3 or 4 years old. And they were doing all these weird stuff. Like there are like people who are like bringing back your deceased loved ones and like channeling them and things like that, and
Seances.
seances. And yeah, like you could see like those the family members were like desperate to like talk to grandpa and like to know that he's okay or something like that. And you can like feel like, dude, like this is so messed up, like this is so distorted, like you should not be doing this, like leave grandpa alone.
Right,
Like you drag the poor guy through this channel to do this weird seance, like leave them do their stuff.
right,
So yeah, like be cleared and like, yeah, like be in a state of love. And yeah, like what I would recommend is like when you try to like contact them or like interact with them, like it may not happen, it doesn't have to, like maybe like it has to work both ways. Maybe you're ready but they don't want to for some reason, so, or maybe they're busy with something else, so don't have too many expectations. But the way I would do it is that, okay, like visualize or maybe like call on them. But what I would do is like in that clear state is like go back to like some kind of beautiful memory or something that you shared together in your past, like one of your maybe your preferred memories with that specific person. Like be there, like feel that you're reliving that same experience again with them, and like with that energy in your heart or mind or in your presence, like through that energy, like connect with them. And if they want to interact, then great. If they don't want to, then they don't have to,
right.
because like they have their own free will and their own individuality. Like they don't have to do something just because you wanted to.
Like somebody calling on your phone, you cannot answer the call. You can decline that phone call, and so can they. Um, Often, I find the reason that they won't come in is if it's going to harm you in some way. If it's in desperation, is another point. Or I'm using this word a lot. And this is it's a spectrum word for me. Like there's a lot of reasons that we would. Um, if it's not for your highest joy and your highest good, often they're not going to want to, because it's not going to help you. It's actually going to not harm you, but prevent further growth, and assisting you to release them, and to allow you to grieve. And I've been somebody who's been able to interact with those who have passed for the bulk of my life. This is 40 plus years now, and um, I can say that I've had amazing, beautiful loved ones that have passed. My little brother was my very best friend, and he committed suicide when he was 25. And um, I can interact with him very easily. However, uh, people often like see this and kind of are present some kind of jealousy or desire to have it too, it's not the same. You still want to hug that person. You still want to punch them in the shoulder. You still want to have, this real the human way of interaction, and it's different. All energy, no energy is wasted. It always moves, and it always continues to go and be something, and be something more. Um, and when it does this, it becomes something different, an evolved energy, you could call it. And so, um, my that's my 2 cents, is that there's a lot of people who I would say add a lot of money to line other people's pockets to connect with those who have their loved ones who have passed, and um, it's never going to fill that void back up again. And so instead, you're being asked to heal so you can connect with them on your own, and whatever's correct for you. This is just my 2 cents, because um, I've been doing this my whole life. People would stand in line at lunch in high school. There's a whole, and I learned that it felt like it was delaying people's progress. And so, what I do when I do sessions with people before they even show up, I tell all the spirits and all the energies that if you're not coming for this person's highest joy and highest good, you're not welcome. And and a lot of times people have a laundry list of like, I want to connect with this person, and they won't come in. They're not coming in because it's not going to help that person, and often we always get exactly what we need from spirit, and frequently it isn't what we think we want.
Yeah. It's something that we always have to relearn and understand.
Yeah, that's a really
Yeah,
good
you
question.
did very beautifully, yes.
Do you think we answered that question all
I
right?
think so, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like maybe I could give some more weird info about like deceased loved ones, like the way I interacted with them. They usually come like in certain periods, like it's not something that continuously happens. But my first real experience was with my deceased grandma. Like I was 18 when she passed, and I had like zero clue about like spiritual awakening and any of these energy stuff. And all of a sudden, I had these like weird, vivid dreams with my grandmother. And I remember like the first dream that I had with her was that I remember I visited their old home, and they removed her bed from the room where she was like sleeping for decades. Basically, they removed it from its place for some reason. And I remember like that night when I went to sleep, I like entered that room and the bed was there. And all of a sudden, like the bed sheets were like flying up, and there was like this cadaver on the bed. I was like, oh my God. Like, what? Like she was very
Yeah.
upset or something. And I really got and I had these very intense dreams with her for an entire year. Each night I had experiences with her for an entire year, but I haven't realized why. But yeah, like, but I could definitely sense that in the beginning she was like very agitated. I don't think she was like ready to die or something.
Yeah.
Like she was not ready for it, and like she couldn't really accept it. And like each day we or night we worked together, like throughout the months I could feel like she becoming more accepting and more calm through those experiences. And after 1 year I haven't seen her for quite some time. I guess we achieved what we had to do together. I guess she kind of sort of accepted what happened and moved on. But later, when I had after I had my spiritual awakening, I think it was like 2 or 3 years after my awakening, I had some even more stranger experience with her. But now from a much more higher vibrational and much more evolved perspective. It didn't just happen to me. I was actually like doing stuff there. And the interesting thing how it started that the whole experience started at my grandparents' yard next to their house, and all of a sudden I was able to. I mean, I can fly or transport myself however I want to in the astral. So I started to levitate and like move around, and I knew the direction from the house towards the graveyard next to the village, and I started to like fly towards the graveyard for some reason. And the closer I got, like the thicker and denser the fog started to become, and all of a sudden I couldn't move forward anymore, and I was like almost like gravity like dragged me down to the ground. I couldn't
Yeah.
move anymore, and it was like so intense the experience because I could actually feel like the wet mossy grass underneath my body, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm wet!" Like, I was slammed to the floor, and all of a sudden, I was like in another place. It was also a house that I recognized that was like related to my grandparents, and she was there with her older sister who passed away like 10 years before her or so. And I could recognize the house, but it was not an exact representation of the 3D version, basically. So it was 90% there. There were certain things that were changed. And I could see that they were like going about their mundane lives as they did in 3D, basically. And all of a sudden I was just there like flying in the yard and my older version, and the old ladies were like, holy shit, like what is happening? I was like, I remember like, oh yeah, like you don't know me like this, and I was like landed and like reverted back to my younger self, and like after that they were like, okay. And I kind of like got the info that they're like reliving, or like they, to a certain extent they have like recreated their 3D lives in order to like create this transitional phase between their 3D limited lives and the passing over phase, basically. And the whole reason for the 90% recreation of the real thing is that they're I mean, it's familiar, but it's not what you were used to. So there's always this little thing that is different to like remind you that this is not that. Like it's
Yeah.
similar, but you're no longer there. And like more and more new and weirder stuff comes in to like remind you that you're no longer there, and like constantly remind you that this is no longer that, and like are you ready to move on and like do something else if you want to.
Right. Yeah. I resonate with that too. There's always something that's meant to be a signal of the time space continuum loop that you found yourself in. There's a signal, and it's like a code for that experience. There's tapping. Physical tapping is really common, by the way. Just as you reminded, or someone said, oh, I think it was, yeah, Ryan here says this comment, and this is something that happens a lot for people. I felt my late grandfather give me a tap on the back of my head, telling me to stop being silly. This is actually really common. People feel this tap 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 like somewhere on their head usually. Sometimes it's a shoulder, and it's usually something that person already did while they were here with you
Yeah,
in
very,
this
very
physical way.
present and remember.
Yeah, yeah. They're just saying, "Hey, I'm here too. I'm still here," and you're not alone. And energy doesn't leave; it just changes location. That seems to imply leaving when you change location, but that's not exactly how it works. It's they're here, they're accessible, and to do like what Guardian said, this is something anybody can do. We all have the ability to access our individual or our loved ones in this way, um, and those frequencies and energies that perhaps were loved ones from a previous life cycle or a higher aspect of yourself, a higher soul aspect concept, and this is fun. This is where it gets fun because you go from people who have physically incarnated and passed, and then you can step it up and step it up before you know it. You're talking to your oversoul, You know what I mean? And so this can occur, and this is a doorway, and a space where we can access this. I wanted to add one last thing before I forgot to say this, is that most people don't know that they're experiencing spirits, when they have these moments where there's something that pops in, something pops in a visual way, but like it feels like it's in their imagination. They see someone, and then it's not, they don't see it because it's not like me. And so it's kind of, wow, I got some weird thing going on in my head. This is, like, for instance, where I lived before, there was a crosswalk. So crosswalk guardian is a place where people can cross the street, and there's painted lines on the street so the cars know to stop, right? Most of the time, they'll stop most of the time.
Not
And
always.
and
You have to be careful.
no. And there is this lady, this soul, this spirit, who obviously was killed at this intersection when she was crossing the street, because I I even had the experience a lot of time. I knew she was going to be there. She would cross right before you got to where and she would put herself in front of your car, time and time again, and like, and it was just so, it was very disruptive until you knew that was going to happen. Why did I bring this up? Because it was a local thing, and I had no idea that people were experiencing it, and there was a lot of legend and stories and stuff. Um, it is a real thing when we're experiencing those things. How can you assist that person? Why are they coming through? If they're not a loved one, why are they coming through? Because just like we said before, they just need to be acknowledged. I'm here. This happened. And once they're acknowledged, they can go. You know, I would say that the more abrupt a person's death passing was, the more likely they'll be lingering longer. So if it's a tragedy, so anyway, it's useful to know that, I thought. So this there was one other question, and then I know we need to get going, Guardian. Someone had a follow-up question when it comes to the how can, here, I'm going to put this up. It's from Anne. um, how can we address the dark energy when it comes into my field, when I get so afraid that I can't manage to do it with the violet flame? I feel it coming, and yet it gets to me. So to see happen twice these last weeks, and takes me so long to get rid of. Um, this example was something about that what I was talking about with the Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai symbiote. Um, so we did address this earlier. I just wanted to be sure that this wasn't, no one was missed in the cracks here. That if you would rewind it, and you'll find some input on that. But the Guardian, would you like to say anything more about this?
No, like you addressed it perfectly. Like whenever like you're in difficult situations, it's like complicated to like focus properly and like to be at the proper vibration if you're in fear or if you're like frozen. So yeah, like use the Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Sabaoth mantra. I think we have written this down, or you can like find it on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, like even if you're afraid, but still you can repeat that, like remember it and like repeat it, and you can like feel how you're like coming back and like releasing that stuck, cold and fearful energy that is coming into your being. With that, you can easily like I don't know, like push yourself over that boundary of being stuck in the fear state. But basically, that you're calling in all your light team, and everyone is coming in to clear the room and help you get rid of the nasty stuff.
Yeah. As Thank you. As very useful, and it's hard to find this on, if you don't know how to spell it. And so I did write the Kadosh Kadosh, and you can, I that word is important for me. When Guardian first said this, I was like, I need, because I know that word on a soul level. Um, it is sacred holiness. This word and I think that it's holy, holy, holy.
Is
Uh,
the Lord of hosts.
is the translation for this is a Latin, I believe.
I think it's Aramic or Aramic.
That sounds more correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And all
and
that mystical stuff.
for those of you who want to know how to find this, I am going to. Oh, thank you so much, Sherry. I'm going to add this to the screen so you can see this. Sherry, you're on point. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Symbiote.
And I'm
This,
sharing the link to the video on my community page right now. So check that
perfect.
out, people.
And I will put it in my YouTube video description. And also, I'm going to link Guardian's channel after this is done to the YouTube. He isn't on Facebook, so I won't be able to do it on Facebook, but to his YouTube channel. So you can find him at Jay Zoltan, or looking up Guardian of Orion at Still Access Chem. He has a lot of awesome, amazing content, and you really are a guardian. So thank you so much for participating in this conversation. Thank you all for being here, and I look forward to having further conversations with Guardian in the future.
I'm looking forward to it too, and these awesome interactions that we have. And I'm also very grateful for this very gentle timing, that it's not in the middle of the night.
I'm now in a new time zone, so I can accommodate that now. So
yeah, it's a luxury.
Thank you all for being here. I will talk to you soon, and just you got this. There's some stuff coming up. Just breathe. You're good. This is all things are temporary, and this stuff is the most temporary. So you're gonna be okay. I love you. Bye.
Bye. Have a beautiful day.